Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Chapter 1: The Worst Birthday. Not for the primary time an issue had broken out over breakfast at Number 4, Privet Drive. Mr. Vernon Dursley had been woken in the early hours top of the line the morning with the aid of a loud, hooting noise from his nephew. Harry's room. Third time this week, he roared across the desk. If you make control that owl, it'll must go. Harry attempted, yet again, to explain. She's bored, he stated. She's used to flying around outside. If I should, just let her out at night time. Do I appearance silly? Tangled up Uncle Vernon, a chunk among the finest fried egg dangling from his hairy mustache. I know what'll take place if that owl's let out. He exchanged darkish looks along with his wife, Petunia. Harry tried to argue again, but his phrases had been drowned through a protracted, loud belch from the Dursleys' son, Dudley. I want more William Maxwell Aitken. There's greater inside the frying pan, sweetums, stated Aunt Petunia, turning misty eyes on her large son. We should build you up while we've got the risk. I don't like the sound top of the line, that college food. Nonsense, Petunia, I in no way went hungry when I was at Smeltings, stated Uncle Vernon heartily. Dudley gets enough, don't you, son? Dudley, who became so huge his backside drooped over either side the most effective the kitchen chair, grinned and turned to Harry. Bypass the frying pan. You've forgotten the magic phrase, said Harry irritably. The effect the most effective. This easy sentence on the rest one of the best the family turned into. Fantastic, Dudley gasped and fell the most effective off his chair with a crash that shook the whole kitchen. Mrs. Dursley gave a small scream and clapped her fingers to her mouth. Mr. Dursley jumped to his feet, veins throbbing in his temples. I meant please, said Harry Speedy. I didn't mean. What have I told you? Thundered his uncle, spraying spit over the desk, approximately pronouncing the M word in our residence. However how dare you threaten Dudley, roared Uncle Vernon, pounding the table together with his fist. I warned you. I'm able to not tolerate point out of your abnormality beneath this roof. Harry stared from his pink-confronted uncle to his pale aunt, who became looking to heave Dudley to his foot. All right, stated Harry, all proper. Uncle Vernon sat back down, respiratory like a winded rhinoceros, and looking Harry intently out the most effective the corners one of the best his small, sharp eyes. Ever since Harry had come domestic for the summertime vacations, Uncle Vernon were treating him like a bomb that might burst off at any second, due to the fact Harry Potter wasn't an ordinary boy. As a matter top of the line reality, he turned into as now not regular as it's miles feasible to be. Harry Potter was a wizard fresh from his first year at Hogwarts College, one of the best witchcraft and wizardry. And if the Dursleys had been unhappy to have him again for the vacations, it become not anything to how Harry felt. He overlooked Hogwarts so much it become like having a regular stomachache. He neglected the Citadel, with its mystery passageways and ghosts, his classes, although perhaps now not Snape, the potions grasp, the mail arriving by way of owl, eating banquets inside the high-quality hall, snoozing in his four-poster mattress inside the tower dormitory, traveling the gamekeeper, Hagrid, in his cabin subsequent to the forbidden woodland inside the grounds, and, in particular, Quidditch, the maximum famous sport within the Wizarding International, 6 tall goalposts, 4 flying balls, and 14 players on broomsticks. All Harry's spellbooks, his wand, gowns, cauldron, and 92902820C12D87B40DFDF6F0F9775. Nimbus 1000 broomstick have been locked in a cabinet underneath the steps through Uncle Vernon. The on-the-spot Harry had come home. What did the Dursleys care if Harry misplaced his place at the residence Quidditch group because he hadn't practiced all summer? What became it to the Dursleys if Harry went lower back to high school with none, probably the greatest his homework carried out? The Dursleys had been what wizards referred to as muggles, now not a drop the most effective magical blood in their veins, and as a ways as they have been concerned, having a wizard within the own family become a count among the best innermost shame. Uncle Vernon had even padlocked Harry's owl, Hedwig, internal her cage, to prevent her from carrying messages to the most effective in the wizarding world. Harry appeared nothing like the relaxation, probably the greatest the own family. Uncle Vernon became massive and necklace, with an widespread black mustache. Aunt Petunia turned into horse-faced and bony, Dudley become blonde, pink, and porky. Harry, on the alternative hand, turned into small and thin, with awesome green eyes and jet-black hair that become continually untidy. He wore spherical glasses, and on his forehead was a thin, lightning-formed scar. It turned into this scar that made Harry so mainly uncommon, even for a wizard. This scar became the handiest trace top of the line, Harry's very mysterious beyond, top of the line, the motive he had been left on the Dursleys' doorstep 11 years before. At the age one of the best 12 months antique, Harry had someway survived a curse from the best darkish sorcerer, the most effective all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name maximum witches and wizards nevertheless feared to speak. Harry's mother and father had died in Voldemort's attack, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and come what may, no person understood why Voldemort's powers were destroyed. On the spot he did not kill Harry. So Harry were introduced up via his dead mom's sister and her husband. He had spent 10 years with the Dursleys, in no way knowledge why he stored making atypical matters happen without meaning to, believing the Dursley's story that he had got his scar within the car crash that had killed his dad and mom. And then, precisely 12 months ago, Hogwarts had written to Harry, and the complete story had popped out. Harry had taken up his vicinity at Wizard College, wherein he and his scar had been famous, but now the college 12 months changed into over, and he was lower back with the Dursleys for the summer, again to being dealt with, like a dog that had rolled in something stinky. The Dursleys hadn't even remembered that these days took place to be Harry's 12th birthday. Of root, his hopes hadn't been excessive, they'd by no means given him an actual gift, not to mention a cake, however to disregard it completely. At that second, Uncle Vernon cleared his throat importantly and stated, "Now, as we all know, today is a totally critical day." Harry looked up, infrequently bold to accept as true with it. "This can properly be the day I make the biggest deal, probably the greatest my profession," said Uncle Vernon. Harry went lower back to his toast. Of course, he thought bitterly, Uncle Vernon turned into talking approximately the stupid night meal. He'd been speaking among the best. Nothing else for 2 weeks. Some wealthy builder and his spouse have been coming to dinner, and Uncle Vernon hoped to get a massive order from him. Uncle Vernon's organization made drills. "I think we have to run through the agenda one more time," stated Uncle Vernon. "We must all be in roll at 8 o'clock. Petunia, you may be within the front room," said Aunt Petunia promptly, ready to welcome them graciously to our home. "Good, accurate. And Dudley?" "I'll be ready to open the door." Dudley put on a nasty, simpering smile. "Can also I take your coats, Mr. and Mrs. Mason?" "They'll love him," cried Aunt Petunia rapturously. "Wonderful, Dudley," stated Uncle Vernon. Then he rounded on Harry. "And also you?" "I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise, and pretending I'm not there," stated Harry tonelessly. "Exactly," said Uncle Vernon nastily. "I'm able to lead them into the front room, introduce you, Petunia, and pour them liquids. At 8:15. I'll announce dinner," stated Aunt Petunia. "And, Dudley, you'll say, 'Can also I take you through to the dining room, Mrs. Mason?'" said Dudley, supplying his fat arm to an invisible lady. My ideal little gentleman, sniffed Aunt Petunia. And also you, stated Uncle Vernon viciously to Harry. I'll be in my room, making no noise, and pretending I'm not there, stated Harry dully. Precisely. Now, we have to purpose to get in some right compliments at dinner. Petunia, any ideas? Vernon tells me you're a top-notch golfer, Mr. Mason. Do tell me. Wherein you got your dress, Mrs. Mason? Ideal. Dudley? How approximately, we needed to write an essay about our hero at faculty, Mr. Mason, and that I wrote about you. This become top of the line for both Aunt Petunia and Harry. Aunt Petunia burst into tears and hugged her son, even as Harry ducked below the desk in order that they wouldn't see him laughing. And you, boy? Harry fought to keep his face directly as he emerged. I'll be in my room, making no noise and pretending I'm now not there, he stated. Too proper, Yule, stated Uncle Vernon forcefully. The Masons don't recognize something about you, and it's going to live that manner. Whilst dinner's over, you are taking Mrs. Mason lower back to the living room for coffee, Petunia, and I'll deliver the problem around to drills. Hopefully, I'll have the deal signed and sealed before the news at 10. We'll be purchasing for a holiday home in Majorca this time day after today. Harry couldn't feel too excited about this. He didn't suppose the Dursleys would like him any higher in Majorca than they did on Privet Drive. Proper, I'm among the best fin to city to pick out up the dinner jackets for Dudley and me. And also you, he twisted up at Harry. You stay out of your aunt's manor whilst she's cleansing. Harry left via the return door. It become a top-notch, sunny day. He crossed the lawn, slumped down on the garden bench, and sang under his breath. Glad birthday to me, satisfied birthday to me. No playing cards, no presents, and he could be spending the night pretending no longer to exist. He gazed miserably into the hedge. He had never felt so lonely. More than something else at Hogwarts, more even than playing Quidditch, Harry overlooked his pleasant friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. They, but, didn't seem to be lacking him at all. Neither among the finest. Them had written to him all summer time, even though Ron had said he'd become going to invite Harry to return and live. Limitless times, Harry had been top of the line unlocking Hedwig's cage via magic and sending her to Ron and Hermione with a letter, however it wasn't really worth the threat. Underage wizards weren't allowed to apply magic. Out of doors, one of the best college. Harry hadn't told the Dursleys this, he knew it changed into simplest. Their terror that he might flip all of them into dung beetles that stopped them from locking him inside the cabinet under the stairs together with his wand and broomstick. For the first couple one of the best weeks lower back, Harry had enjoyed muttering nonsense words under his breath and looking Dudley tearing out among the finest the room as fast as his fat legs could deliver him. However, the long silence from Ron and Hermione had made Harry experience so cut probably the greatest from the mystical global that even taunting Dudley had lost its enchantment, and now Ron and Hermione had forgotten his birthday. What wouldn't he deliver now for a message from Hogwarts? From any witch or wizard. He'd almost be glad one of the best a sight top of the line, his archenemy, Draco Malfoy, simply to be sure it hadn't all been a dream. Now not that his entire year at Hogwarts were fun. At the very give up among the best remaining term, Harry had come face to face without any aside from Lord Voldemort himself. Voldemort is probably a break one of the best his former self, but he became nevertheless terrifying, still foxy, nevertheless determined to regain electricity. Harry had slipped through Voldemort's clutches for a 2D time, but it had been a narrow breakout, and even now, weeks later, Harry kept waking within the Night, soaking wet in bloodless sweat, wondering in which Voldemort was now, remembering his livid face, his huge, mad eyes. Harry suddenly sat bolt upright at the lawn bench. He had been staring absent-mindedly into the hedge, and the hedge changed into staring lower back. Sizable inexperienced eyes had seen the various leaves. Harry jumped to his feet simply as a jeering voice floated across the lawn. "I understand what day it's for," sang Dudley, waddling in the direction of him. The large eyes blinked and vanished. "What?" stated Harry, not taking his eyes among the best the spot wherein they had been. "I realize what day it's for," Dudley repeated, coming right up to him. "Well achieved," said Harry. "So you've ultimately found out the times, probably the greatest the week." "Today's your birthday," sneered Dudley. "How come you haven't got any cards? Haven't you even got friends at that freak place?" "Better no longer allow your mum hear you speak me about my school," said Harry coolly. Dudley hitched up his trousers, which were slipping down his fats backside. "Why were you looking at the hedge?" he said suspiciously. "I'm looking to decide what will be the first-class spell to set it on fireplace," stated Harry. Dudley stumbled backward straight away, a glance among the best panic on his fat face. "You see can't, Dad informed you you're no longer to do magic," he stated. "He'll chuck you out top of the line, the residence, and you haven't were given anywhere else to move. You haven't were given any buddies to take you." "Jiggery pokery," said Harry in a fierce voice. "Hocus pocus. Squiggly wiggly." "Moo-um," howled Dudley, tripping over his FT as he returned in the direction of the residence. "Moo-um. He's doing you already know what." Harry paid dearly for his second one of the best amusing. As neither Dudley nor the hedge become in any way hurt, Aunt Petunia knew he hadn't simply achieved magic, however he nevertheless needed to duck as she aimed a heavy blow at his head with the soapy frying pan. Then she gave him work to do, with the promise he wouldn't devour again till he'd finished. While Dudley lolled around looking and consuming ice cream, Harry wiped clean the home windows, washed the auto, mowed the lawn, trimmed the flower beds, pruned and watered the roses, and repainted the lawn bench. The solar blazed overhead, burning the lower back the most effective his neck. Harry knew he shouldn't have risen to Dudley's bait, but Dudley had stated the very element. Harry had been wondering himself, perhaps he didn't have any friends at Hogwarts. Wish they could see famous Harry Potter now, he concept savagely as he spread manure on the flower beds, his lower back aching, sweat strolling down his face. It changed into half a beyond 7 inside the nighttime while at last, exhausted, he heard Aunt Petunia calling him. "Get in right here and stroll at the newspaper." Harry moved gladly into the coloration, probably the greatest, the sparkling kitchen. On pinnacle, one of the best. The refrigerator stood tonight's pudding, a massive mound, one of the best whipped cream and sugared violets. A loin, probably the greatest roast red meat, become sizzling in the oven. "Eat quickly. The Masons will be right here soon," snapped Aunt Petunia, pointing to 2 slices among the finest bread and a lump one of the best cheese at the kitchen table. She turned into already sporting a salmon red cocktail dress. Harry washed his arms and bolted down his pitiful supper. The moment he had completed, Aunt Petunia whisked away his plate. "Upstairs. Hurry." As he exceeded the door to the living room, Harry caught a glimpse among the best. Uncle Vernon and Dudley in bow ties and dinner jackets. He had simplest just reached the upstairs landing while the doorbell rang and Uncle Vernon's livid face regarded on the foot among the finest the stairs. "Don't forget, boy," one sound. Harry crossed to his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped internal, closed the door, and grew to become to fall apart on his bed. The trouble changed into, "There has been already a person sitting on it."